Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR show on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio.
Tonight's edition of the RCWR show with Lee Sanders is brought to you by FreeStream. Everybody, how would you like to cut your cable or satellite TV bill down to zero? Well, you can with FreeStream. Why FreeStream? FreeStream is capable of streaming entertainment from around the world, including live TV, music, gaming, and the latest movies, you name it. FreeStream offers over 100,000 titles of movies for you to stream anytime you want, day or night. That's 24/7. Current movies can stream right from your box in HD quality at the highest resolution that's available. Hey, are you a sports fan? Watch any sports event live from anywhere in the world in the highest quality, streamed live right to your television. If you miss any live programs or new episodes, you can stream them from start to finish with FreeStream at your convenience. There's over 1,000 TV channels, everything from local to premium channels, all available through FreeStream. And the best part, folks, the best part about FreeStream, it's legal to stream programming/content. It's only illegal to download or change the content. So with that in mind, are you ready to cut your cable or satellite bill to zero? Then head on over to www.cutyourcable.biz. That's www.cutyourcable.biz. www.cutyourcable.biz.
Warning, the RCWR show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond. Since 2011, you're listening to the RCWR show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Yes, what is up, boys and girls? Pleased to meet you, nice to know me for this Sunday night of May 1st, 2016. I am the one and only the Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders, and you, my good friends, are checking out an all-new The RCWR show. As it's a special Sunday night edition, we are talking WWE Payback 2016 Fallout. I'd love to hear from you guys that has saw tonight's event. As always, you're more than welcome to interact in the chat room as we're live right now on Spreaker.com. Feel free to pop one in there like Zargon is doing right now. Shout out to Zargon, and interact with the community. You can also interact on Twitter at the RCWR show. Make sure you give me a follow on there as well. Like me, make sure you check out the Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions with an E as in Edward, spell out one, Infinity One Productions. So overall tonight, with regards to this WWE Payback event, I thought it was a pretty decent pay-per-view / network special event. I really don't have too many complaints with regards to this. But there are some things that I do want to spend several minutes going in depth on that, I don't know, for some of you guys, you may feel as though maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit with some of the things I'm going to be talking about. But all in all, you know how we do it here on the RCWR show. Since 2011, we've been keeping it honest, we've been keeping it insightful, and most importantly, we've been keeping it interactive with you, the listeners. So, one of the big things, the big elephants that we need to address that came about from tonight's Payback event was the decision. No, I'm not talking about what team LeBron James is going to be playing for next after he's done with the Cavaliers for the second time around. No, I'm talking about the decision that Vince McMahon would have to make as far as who is he going to put in charge of Monday Night Raw operations. Is it going to be Stephanie McMahon, or is it going to be her brother, her older brother at that, Shane McMahon? A critical decision. This was definitely one of the lures that had went into tonight's pay-per-view network special for a lot of folks, as a lot of folks had a little bit of, what's the right word I'm looking for? They were intrigued by just what was going to be coming about with future installments of Raw as far as who's going to be put in charge. In case you've been missing the buzz for the past couple of weeks, a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of WWE fans have been getting behind the notion that, hey, Shane McMahon, he's being used as this new catapult, he's being used as this new conduit of ushering in a new era in the WWE, new matchups, new rivalries, out with the old, out with the 15, 20, 25 minute long promos and all that, and really shaking things up. That is what was being presented to a lot of fans, and a lot of fans have been very vocal about that all throughout social media. So going into this Payback event, you had a lot to really try to sink your teeth into on top of the solid matches. I gotta tell you, Vince McMahon coming out there to the Chicago crowd at the Allstate Arena, the crowd was pretty interactive. They were very energetic. What can I say about a Chicago crowd? Honestly, every single time WWE rolls through Chicago, they always represent. And look, in case you don't know by now, I am a Chicago native. Born and raised in Chicago. Spent many years away from there, but I still consider Chicago my hometown. And one of these days, I was telling the missus about it off and on the past couple of years. I've said, look, one of these days, we got to go back to Chicago and just spend about a week out there, have some fun, check out the sights, check out the views, the people, interactions, great food that's out there. We got to do it one of these days, and I am always willing to be brutally honest when it comes to the crowds, even when it comes to my fellow city, my hometown city, Chicago. I got to be honest. But no, tonight, I thought the Chicagoans did a pretty good job. They represented, that's a really tough crowd. That is a really tough crowd. But if you can get through Chicago, you can pretty much get through just about everywhere. 30 minutes it felt like. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. I'll probably clock it in at maybe 20, 22 minutes. But if it went 30 minutes, my God, I just know that was freaking overkill, as we saw Vince McMahon in there and Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon. Now, granted, when Vince was out there, the crowd, and they were pretty cool because up to this point, we didn't get the decision until I want to say until the 10 o'clock p.m. hour on the East Coast. So when Vince McMahon came out at this point, I'm kicking back, I'm saying to myself, oh wow, the crowd's actually been pretty good. There hasn't been a CM Punk chant. If it happened before that, I missed it because at some point I was running around the house doing some stuff. But I was like, wow, the crowd's been pretty good. All right, so we're finally going to get a WWE event where there's no CM Punk chant for once. All right, that's great. Awesome. Sure enough, Vince McMahon comes out. He begins to try to cut his little promo and everything, and bam, they hit him with the CM Punk chants, and he played right along into it, teasing the fans, asking them how long they could keep it up, and they started cheering and all that other great stuff. Now, see, that's the first problem, and look, I don't mean to come off like I'm nitpicking, but I'm just keeping it for real, alright? I'm keeping it on the reels. You feel me? Feel me for a minute. Marinate on this. If you have a wrestler or a entertainment personality, or in this case you have Vince McMahon saying to you, is this the best you got? Is this all you have? How much more can you keep this up, I wonder? Okay, he's trying to instigate you. He's trying to promote you. He is trying to push you. Okay? If he's saying to you, I wonder how long you guys can keep this up, and at this point the fans were chanting the whole CM Punk thing, that doesn't mean you stop chanting CM Punk and you start cheering and you start clapping like, oh, he acknowledged us, oh, goody. No, that's not what it means. If he says to you, I wonder how long you guys can keep this up, then you keep chanting. In this case, CM Punk, you keep chanting it. If you mean to make your voices be heard to Vince and crew and say, hey, you guys really screwed up with CM Punk, you guys need to, see if you can get him back into this company, because in a lot of aspects, it's the drizzling shits right now, then this is your opportunity. If you have the owner, the chairman of the company, presenting to you on a silver platter to come at him verbally, then have at it. Have a stab. You don't just stop because he acknowledged you. I was really disappointed with that. And that's not the first time that Vince McMahon has done that to a crowd. If you guys recall in recent memory, he did that several weeks back. And the crowd, they tried to come at him with the CM Punk's chants. And he said the same thing that he said tonight at the Allstate Arena to those fans. And they stopped and they were cheering and all that other jazz. It was just frustrating. Stephanie McMahon had the drizzling shits of her interactions with Vince McMahon. I thought Vince handled himself pretty well. Stephanie was out there. I mean, she just literally sucked all of the air out of that arena. The longer that she kept talking, the worse it was, unfortunately. And on the one hand, I get that. I get the point that we're supposed to not like Stephanie, that we are supposed to just want her off of our television sets already, because she's just that goddamn funking it up in the worst way that's possible. I get that. And a lot of credit needs to go to Stephanie, because I don't know if she just wakes up and she is just releasing hormones of a heel or what, but I mean, she is just able to generate heat with the littlest thing that's out there. And when it was looking as though Stephanie was the one that was going to be getting the Raw job, the Chicago crowd, they just let Stephanie have it with the boos, and every single time she was trying to talk, they were chewing her a new you-know-what. It was just brutally a hostile environment for Stephanie, but I tell you what, she handled it like a pro. I was really just taken back, because that crowd was really laying it into her, and they were laying it into her pretty damn heavy. But Stephanie, the longer she talked, and I just don't understand that. Trust me, I'm a sucker for any reaction is better than no reaction at all. But to have her interactions with Vince McMahon get to the point where the fans are chanting, "This is boring," it's like, okay, you guys are killing a little bit too much time here. Let's get to it already. Shane McMahon definitely had saved that segment, without a doubt. Kind of playing off of his interactions that he had with Stephanie a couple of weeks back, as Vince McMahon would announce that on the one hand, he would love to see Stephanie and Shane just go at each other's throats, go for blood, but then on the other hand, he's pretty curious how the two of them would work well together. His decision was that Stephanie and Shane would both be running WWE RAW, and that the two of them would need to, quote, figure it out. So there is your decision right there. Now, when you hear that, you think about how much time went into this segment, how much time went into the decision to be made. You just couldn't help but come away and go, well, wait a minute, this is it right here. And I know a lot of fans were really really intrigued by the idea of a brand split. Now, several weeks back, I did say that, hey, a brand split would be okay. It'd be feasible if it went back to how it was those first couple of years that there was a WWE Raw and SmackDown brand split. Everybody that remembers the brand split the first go round, those first couple of years were really, really golden. We can all be in agreement. The last 4 years of it, it was just crap. Let's just be perfectly honest. It was just dragging on. It was like, okay, it's time to just put it all back together already. And fans were just wanting that more and more and more. I thought for sure there was going to be some type of a brand split, but not in the way that you guys were thinking as far as, okay, there's going to be a SmackDown champion, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. I wasn't thinking of it from that standpoint. Anybody that recalls, and those of you longtime listeners definitely can back me up on this, several weeks back, I basically put the idea out there. If it was me just in control of creative and all that, the way I would basically have it set up is Shane McMahon would be put in charge of Monday Night Raw, but Stephanie and Triple H would be put in charge of SmackDown. That's just the way that I would have set it up, and basically I would have had Triple H and Stephanie kind of be in this situation where they don't like the fact that they lost the flagship show, but at the same time, they're going to stick it to Shane, and they're going to prove to Vinnie Mac that he made a very critical mistake in putting Shane in charge of Raw, and that the authority should be the ones in charge of it. And in order to do that, Shane, Triple H, they create the best SmackDown product that is possibly capable of even going down, and kind of like, okay, Raw here, top that. I also pitched little scenarios where maybe you could have certain champions become exclusive to SmackDown, meaning it would be the only place you'd be able to see them. So I'm very surprised that they did not go in the direction of that, and that instead we get Stephanie and Shane working together to try to figure out who's going to be, how are they going to coexist is the main question that's being put out there, because now you have this rivalry. And see, look, on the one hand, you're kind of like, well, that's kind of lame as fuck, especially when you have this segment just go on and on and on and on and on, and that's the conclusion that it reaches. You're like, surely we could have done a lot better than that, right? Right. But when you think back to the Attitude Era, you think of the McMahons. It was always dysfunctional. You always had that rivalry, that sibling rivalry going on between Stephanie and Shane. So you're kind of like, all right, they're recycling something from the Attitude Era days. Okay, it's kind of new, but it's not really new. But okay, let's see exactly where this goes. And the way it's kind of coming off, just based on what we had saw from tonight's event, in future weeks to come, we're going to be seeing scenarios where, hey, so Shane, Steph, what would you do with this? And right when somebody is pitching a really cool idea, the other one just jumps right on that and expands that even more. Almost kind of sounds like a parrot, but they're expanding it even more, trying to make it seem as though that's their idea. I think what ultimately will be the end game for this is Stephanie, Shane. Basically, I see a match happening. I don't know if maybe it'll happen at SummerSlam, or if maybe, just maybe, if they do this right, the attention span is there for the fans. They're into it like that. They could very well, folks, and some of you may not like what I'm getting ready to say, but they may very well stretch this out all the way into Survivor Series 2016, where basically Stephanie composes a team, Shane composes a team, in a winner-take-all situation for total control of Monday Night Raw. Now, of course, some of you guys are going, well, wait a minute. Vince made his decision as far as, well, if this is the type of match that they both want, and they both go to the chairman and say, look, we want you to sign off on this match, it's time for winner take all. I can see it if the storyline is set up just right, all the X's and O's and fine detail of telling the story is laid out perfectly. I can see it where Vince McMahon would approve it, and you have your match. Now, when you really break that down, we're already in what, May? So you got June, July, August, September, October, November. You got about 6 months to go. That's enough time to do a decent amount of storytelling. Also think from this standpoint. If Shane McMahon is in a position where he cannot attend every single edition of Monday Night Raw, you got Stephanie that's there. She'll be in charge for that week, and then you have Shane come back the very next week or whatever. You can easily play it off like that with the two of them rotated out. It doesn't always have to be a situation where both of them are on the show. Of course, one of the first things that came to my mind when I had heard this, I'm going, oh wow, so I wonder if maybe what'll happen is Monday Night Raw going forward will get the WCW Monday Night Nitro treatment. I wonder if basically the first hour, it's going to be the living legend Larry Zbyszko, and you have Tony Schiavone, and then the second hour you got Bobby the Brain Heenan with Eric Bischoff. I'm thinking, okay, so I wonder if maybe like the first, what is that? 3 hours is what? 3 hours is what? An hour 50 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. So like what? The first hour 50 minutes is gonna go to Shane, and then the second half of the show is gonna go to Stephanie. I was thinking maybe it would kind of go maybe in that direction. That's wishful thinking, but before this pay-per-view was out, we were really given strong indications of how exactly this is going to be playing out, as it really is going to be about, you did that, okay, now watch me top what you just did. But I thought that was a really lame segment that had came about. It just sucked that they really had stretched it out for 30 minutes. I would have preferred it if they would have just made their point, 15 minutes, squeeze in a match. Look, if you were following me on Twitter, I even said, God, I wish we had the Social Outcasts taking on Fandango right about now, because that's how overkill that was. But there was the decision for those of you that did not check it out tonight. As I'm getting ready to talk about the entire card now for this Payback event, I want to stress to you guys, in case you all have not heard the news already, WWE is putting a new plan in motion with regards to the WWE Network. Now, this is really big and critical news right here. I normally would not even spend a few minutes on this, but I'll be saying this for the next couple of weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks max, just to really help jog you all's memory and put it in the back of you all's mind. But they are shaking up the way that you, the WWE Network subscribers, go about checking out the WWE Network. Now, the way that they are setting it up, in the past, you used to be able to check out the WWE Network on any respected device. So, say, for instance, in my respected household, I could be kicking back and I could be watching Monday Night Nitro, or I could be watching ECW. My girl could be in the other room and she decides she wants to catch up on some Table for 3 episodes. She actually likes the Table for 3. I know there's a new one that just came out, but she could be in the other room watching Table for 3 or whatever. Our company that's here, they could be downstairs in the living room and they could be watching, they could be watching whatever on the WWE Network. That used to be cool. I mean, everything's linked to that same account. Stream it on your multiple devices or whatnot. But now, the way WWE is setting this up, you can only access the WWE Network via just one device format, and one device format only. So basically, if you want for your other family members or friends to be able to enjoy the WWE Network, whether they're watching the same thing you're trying to watch, but they're in a different room, or maybe they're in a different room trying to watch something else, they're gonna have to pay an additional $9.99 or 3-month subscription, 6-month subscription, or however much it is. Basically, there's gonna have to be separate accounts. Now, before you get totally pissed off hearing that, first off, I feel your frustrations. I feel where you're coming from with regards to that. When I heard this, I was a little bit upset because I'm one of those type of people. When I'm at work, I'm in between breaks, lunch, commute home and all that, to and from work. I'm checking out the WWE Network. I'm waiting for something to come on. I'm switching it up. When I get in the house, I give my phone a rest. I continue watching my program on my tablet. When I'm getting ready to burn out my tablet, I'm going to the Xbox One. So I'm used to switching on the multiple devices like many of you all. I understand why they're doing this. This is their way to try to put a curb stomp on the piracy that is just really widespread right now. See, unfortunately, not to really bore you guys with the specifics and all that, but I do need to really make sure you guys are aware of why exactly they're taking this approach. Again, they're trying to fight piracy because the way it stands right now, say for example, you got me over here in North America, and I could be talking to a listener in Egypt. Shout out to our fans over in Egypt, by the way, and anybody that is connected to our Facebook page knows about this, but we got big business in Egypt apparently. So shout out to our listeners in Egypt. But let's say I befriend a listener from Egypt and they're like, Lee, I can't check out Extreme Rules coming up next month, man. And I don't have money right now to get the WWE Network. And I go, oh, it's okay, man. Look, here's my username. Here's my password. Just go ahead, log in. That type of stuff they're trying to fight. That type of piracy, not to mention the people that just abuse the hell out of, I'm just going to sign up for another subscription network. Bump this. Why pay? And so I understand what they're trying to do. So they have my respect from that standpoint. But, and I got to get on that ass, but to basically make current subscribers go, oh, glad you're enjoying the network. Hey, you want to be able to stream it on this device and this device and this device. You got to pay more money. I just think that's wrong. And see, some of you guys may be like, well, I'm just going to continue to do... No. Apparently, the way they have designed this, now I don't know if it's already in effect, but I would think before the next quarter report, it should have already kicked in, but I think it's in motion right now. If it's not already in effect right now, it's in a couple of weeks, it's getting ready to convert over. Basically, they're going to be monitoring the WWE Network accounts. And if they find that your network subscription is registered on more than one device, they're going to close your account. They're going to lock you out. That's basically how it's going to go down. So I implore you guys to make sure that you're on point from here on out when it comes to accessing the network. I mean, I think it's a wrong approach. I'll say this and we'll move along and we'll go to the card. But I think the way that they need to be doing this is think about it from the piracy standpoint, yes, but also think about it from the standpoint of the customer. And I think that in the past, WWE has always been WWE Network, it's like Netflix, but even better. Okay, well, if you're going to compare yourself to Netflix, then really pay attention to the platform that Netflix has set up. When you just pay the lowest price that is out there, you can stream Netflix. Usually you can stream it on one device or whatever like that, and basically for each amount of money that you put out there, there's a tier level, and for each tier, the more devices that you're able to stream Netflix on, simultaneously, basically. So I think WWE, in that standpoint, I think they need to go that route. I mean, honestly, I think for $9.99 and you're paying that monthly, I think by default that should entitle you to be able to stream the network on one additional device. And hopefully it's set up in a way where if you're using your phone and then you decide you want to switch to your tablet, okay, that's fine. When you get ready to try to switch to your Xbox, I would think that there would be some type of a notification from WWE Network saying, hey, look, this device is not registered to stream the WWE Network. If you want for the network to stream on this device, please go back to your settings. And I would think the process would be, and hopefully it'll be like that, but I can only imagine how many people are really upset at hearing that piece of news. But with that in mind, let's talk about the card. So we go to the pre-show. Kalisto defending the United States Championship against Ryback. I gotta say, man, and shout out to those of you who I was interacting with the majority of the night. I mainly was kicking back, just really trying to enjoy the matches as overall solid card overall. Kalisto versus Ryback for a pre-show match. I was really taken back. I recalled the last time these two guys had went at it, and I'm going, I'm not really expecting that much from these two. Whatever. Kalisto's probably going to retain, but I tell you what, these guys went into this pre-show match. They really came off like they had a chip on their shoulders. They really came off like, you know what? We got a pre-show card. We're not even on the main event. We don't have no build up for this. We just randomly got put here. Let's make the best out of it. And I tell you what, both of these guys made the best out of it. Ryback this was a phenomenal singles match for Ryback. And for me to say that really says a lot, because, and I know some people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, Lee. What about with what he did with CM Punk, Hell in a Cell, a couple of years back or something like that? Didn't he have a match with CM Punk? I would say with regards to that one matchup he had with CM Punk, he was really wet behind the ears. I thought the timing of that was just off. I thought the trigger was pulled a little bit too early at that point in time in Ryback's career. I am looking more from the standpoint of the overall performance, the execution. And for a singles match, Ryback did a superb job against Kalisto. I'm like just scratching my head trying to think of like the last singles match I saw Ryback in that was just like, wow, that was really freaking good. And you know, I got cobwebs in my brain right now. Probably when I get off the air, and I'll definitely bring this up again on next time we come on live, but I'm just thinking about it. There's nothing that's in my head right now, but I bet you as soon as I get off the air with you guys, I'm probably going to think about a couple of more matches. But this was a really damn good singles match. Ryback, a very good, strong outing. Kalisto, ditto that. Same thing. I mean, this was just, God, to see Kalisto. How did he win that match, by the way, guys? I think he did the Del Sol on Ryback. And that was pretty much how it was a great sequence in setting that up, because I remember he basically took advantage of a dazed and somewhat confused Ryback. Believe he came off of the ropes when he was looking for that finishing maneuver as well. Dolph Ziggler. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's go to that one next. Dolph Ziggler took on Baron Corbin. We saw Dolph Ziggler defeat Baron Corbin. I was a little bit surprised that Dolph Ziggler had picked up the W for that one, but if I'm not mistaken, and with regards to my predictions, I think I had hit a home run. I believe I hit a home run. I believe I got every single one right. I got to double check, but I said to you guys, Dolph Ziggler was probably going to pick up the W for this one because Baron Corbin was just owning his ass over the past couple of weeks. But I also stressed to you guys, like, don't expect for this rivalry to be over with just this one match. Dolph Ziggler, honestly, I don't know about you guys. I know some of you all want better for Ziggler's career, but honestly, I am fine with him being that go-to person to break in some of these new guys that's coming up on the main roster. And honestly, I think Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler has been a really good thing for Baron Corbin as far as breaking him in to the main WWE roster. I mean, just the faith that WWE upper brass has in this young man to basically have him be the one to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy. And basically, it's a domino effect. It goes back to what I said a couple of weeks ago. You're like, wait a minute, who's this guy Baron Corbin? Well, he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy at WrestleMania. Oh, okay, but like, where did he come from? Well, he came from NXT. Hey, I've been hearing a lot about NXT. Yeah, it's a good promotion. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. Well, you haven't watched yet? No, I haven't watched yet. Well, you should go back and you should check out some of Baron's work. You'll also get caught up to speed on some of the other great talents that's down there. So it creates a really good domino effect, especially if you're an NXT fan. So to see Baron really get this great support, and now he has this great supporting cast in Dolph Ziggler, I tell you, it's really looking good as far as the future goes for young Baron Corbin. I still feel he needs to do something with that hair. Either just go old bald natural, or go on ahead, do some type of a match where, I don't know, maybe he can do like loser has to have their head shaved. Now that would be a very interesting matchup right there. I wonder if maybe something like that could possibly happen at SummerSlam. I wonder if maybe Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin would go at it, and the loser has to have their head shaved. I wonder. I just wonder, because see, I would really love for that hair to be gone, because if Baron wants his hair, then honestly, I think what's going to have to happen is he's going to have to go natural bald, and he's going to have to get the little hair transplants. He's going to have to go to Bosley or something, and then just keep the head hooked up in a bandana from then on out, let it grow back out like that. I think that would be the best way to do it. I mean, it worked for Chavo Guerrero. I mean, does anybody remember when Chavo Guerrero was balding very badly during his time in the WWE? And when he like had it shaved off, and you know, he was pushing bandanas and all that for a good minute, and then one day just the hair started growing back, and boom, full set of hair. He's had a full set of hair ever since. Scary moment came during the Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy match as they took on the Vaudevillains, Aiden English and Simon Gotch. It was a tag team match to determine the number one contender for the WWE tag team titles. We basically saw this moment where, and I forget which member of the New Day, I forget which member of the Vaudevillains was in the ring with Enzo Amore, but Enzo was like sent into the ropes, and he like tried to do this slide where he would like slide under the ropes, but as he was trying to slide, he was almost trying to do like a baseball slide underneath all three ropes, but his head had just barely tapped the middle rope, and then the third rope coming down, like he connected like with both of those, and apparently the young man had suffered a concussion as a result. And I gotta tell you, when I first saw it, I'm kind of like, the hell is going on here? What, like, I don't get this. And I thought maybe this was going to be a spot where Big Cass was going to have to carry the match for himself for a little bit, and then Enzo would get back in there and all, but far from the truth. In the perfect world, that's how maybe you'd like to see it go down. Enzo comes back in there later on for the hot tag or whatever. And remember, when it came to offering predictions, I even went out there and said, don't be too surprised if maybe Team 3D maybe kind of gets involved, because they definitely got some unfinished business with Amori and Cassidy, and thus my prediction was that the Vaudevillains would pick up the W. But from people that were there in attendance that had the really good, excellent seats, pretty much they were in those first 3 rows and they were able to see everything that had went down. A lot of folks were saying that this was indeed legit. Apparently Cassidy was crying his eyes out. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. And good news would come about. Now, I know for those that were in the arena, I'm not really sure how the information had relayed to you all, if it relayed to you all at all. But we would find out some good news later on by Michael Cole that apparently Enzo was alert, and his extremities, everything seemed to be okay. Basically, what he had suffered was a concussion. I gotta tell you though, when I first saw the replay, it really started to sink in, and I was kind of like, and shout out to Titus Machiavelli. Titus, my buddy, he was like, I don't know, Lee, I don't think this is fake. I think this is the real deal. Just the timing of this, the placement during the match, like there's no reason for them to pull a swerve like this. And yeah, the more and more I really started thinking about it, it was like, nah, this has to be legit. But when I was just playing the footage back, I was just kind of like, oh man, shades, just slight shades of D'Lo Brown and draws, and I was kind of like, man, please let this young man be okay. So he's got a zinger, basically. He suffered a concussion, so most likely he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. He's probably going to have to go through some impact tests, all that good stuff to try to determine if he is fully capable of getting back into the ring. It's good that he's in a tag team match, because honestly, I think what'll probably end up happening is Kaz will probably do a big bulk of the work for a couple of weeks as they try to slide in Amori, try to get him back into the rotation again. Now that we kind of know what we know right here with regards to this concussion that Enzo has sustained, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be too much surprised if for the WWE tag team titles, if maybe we had saw some type of a fatal 4-way. That's if Enzo Amore could get back to it in time. Honestly, if I were to make a bold prediction, I wouldn't be too surprised if New Day defended their tag titles against the Vaudevillains, Enzo Amore, Colin Cassidy, and the Dudley Boys. I mean, honestly, you think Extreme, you might as well kind of like go that route, right? It could happen. I mean, I'm looking at the venue of where Extreme Rules is going to be happening next month, or later this month, May 22nd to be exact. It's going to be happening at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. So, I mean, it's very well possible if Dudley Boys are not involved in that match, they should definitely be involved on that card, to say the least. So, of course, we didn't see a decisive victor with regards to that number one contenders match for the tag titles. I wouldn't be too surprised if the Vaudevillains had came out and tried to claim themselves to be the victors as a result, but maybe that would end up being challenged possibly by the Usos. Usos already kind of like got their hands filled as it is right now with Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows. More on that later on. Next match we go. Charlotte defended the women's championship against Natalya. Charlotte having Ric Flair in her corner, and Natty having her uncle Bret Hart in in her corner, it was really hard for me to get into this match for the most part, because on the one hand, I was just like, oh, it's great to see Bret Hart. Of course, Bret Hart, he was battling cancer there, and he barely got out of treatment not that long ago. He's in remission right now, but he looks phenomenally well. He really did not want to be at this WWE event, and anybody that has been paying attention to some of the interviews that he's been giving as of late, one interview that he gave, he pretty much said that with regards to WWE Payback, he did not want to be there. The only reason why he was even coming to this event was because of his niece, Natty, and because it gave him an opportunity to bump into Ric Flair, who he really loves and appreciates a lot, considers him to be an old friend. So that's really what this was all about for him. As far as the matchup itself, I have to say, in all honesty, this wasn't, and I love both of these girls, it wasn't quite the best matchup I've seen of these two to date. When I compare what they did down in NXT, when I compare some of the encounters that they had on the main roster so far, especially in this calendar year alone, this one didn't quite live up to my expectations. I'm not sure how many of you all have felt with regards to this match, but for me, it was a good match. Don't get me wrong. Let me make sure I stress this. I can't stress it enough now. It was a good match for what it was worth. But if you've been paying attention to these two girls, and every time they've been locking it up for as long as I have, then you're going to be, yeah, this wasn't really their best effort. You would agree with me. But if you're still rather new to these girls going at it, then you probably would have thought this was just awesome. Finish to this match, and I should have seen this coming. I didn't even call it. I'm surprised I missed it, because it was just right there, and I missed it. I don't even know how many of you guys even called it, but we saw a 1997 Survivor Series finish with this match. We saw that blonde-haired referee, that wannabe Ric Flair. That guy's been idolizing Ric Flair for years now. We saw at one point Charlotte get Natty in the sharpshooter. And the next thing you know, the referee, he just called for the bell, rolled out, grabbed the women's title, gave it to Charlotte. And you got Bret Hart, he's like, what the hell? Ric Flair comes in there, and he's trying to understand exactly what went down, and Charlotte, Flair, they start celebrating. Bret gets in Ric Flair's face like, what the hell, man? Sucker punches him, puts him in a sharpshooter. Natty, she does her thing to Charlotte, and basically we see the Harts applying sharpshooters to both Flairs. Great little moment right there. Honestly, for me, the real good feel moment of the night with regards to this whole segment, this whole match, it was really just being able to see Bret Hart, knowing that he was able to kick cancer's ass. I mean, it's nice to hear good, uplifting stories like this. Lord knows we need a lot more of them, because you just think about all the recent deaths of celebrities and musicians that we've been getting the past several months now. It's really nice to get that nice little dose of good news, you know what I'm saying? Not to mention wrestlers that's passed recently, right on up to within the past 2 weeks. It's just really good to be able to kick back and just have a nice good feel moment. Not to mention, and this is still sports related, but I'm talking about good feel moments and all that. It's nice to see Craig Sager still kicking ass. I know his leukemia came back and everything. Apparently, doctors said he would only have 3 to 6 months to live if he did not seek out treatment. He's still fighting it. He's undergoing any and all treatments that's out there and all that. My man just was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated, looking oh so sharp and all that. You know, we need more of these great good feel stories, man. We don't get enough of them. There's too much focus on people dying and all that. It's really nice to, and I have a feeling, mark my words, making a bold prediction here. And normally when I make these bold predictions, I am on point. You can call me the Black Negro Nostradamus. I have a feeling that the next go round when WWE hooks up with the Susan G. Komen Foundation and doing the whole cancer thing, right? I have a strong feeling that Bret Hart is definitely going to be a part of that. I definitely have a feeling he's going to be one of the spokespeople for that. You mark my words on that one. And honestly, I don't think Bret Hart is going to shy away from that. Of course, he's probably going to be compensated for making his media rounds and all that, but mark my words, we're going to see an awesome moment like that come about with him and the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Just makes perfect sense. Next match we go. Sami Zayn taking on Kevin Owens. A rivalry renewed from down in NXT. One thing I gotta say, Kevin Owens just continues to be on a freaking roll, man. I fucking love this guy, Kevin Owens. I have been keeping track of all the matches that he has had this calendar year alone. I touched upon this a couple of weeks ago. Longtime listeners can back me up on this. This guy has got to be with almost 6 months in the book right now. If I were to just jump out there and say, all right, first 6 months of WWE in the books, so far, who's a good candidate for Superstar of the Year? I got to give it to Kevin Owens. And I think many of you would agree with that assessment. This guy has been having great fucking main event matches. His promos are the stuff that is just, you're just entertained. He has got to be a rarity in today's society. And you know, it's interesting because we've got a couple of these interviews that's floating around where, yeah, Triple H saying, oh, the days of a babyface and the heel, they're long gone. Now it's kind of like the era of the tweeners and all that. I beg to differ, man. I beg to differ. Kevin Owens does kind of push being a tweener just a little tiny bit, but he so reeks of heel. Right down to the stuff that he is saying on social media, as he is the king of blocking people. Okay, so that combined with the great commentating that he did at the announcer's booth when he was just putting down poor Byron Saxton. I mean, you just felt for Byron Saxton. There were so many classic lines that Kevin Owens had delivered. By the way, for those of you that are curious about that Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, like I said, that was a 5-star quality match that I enjoyed right there from Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens finishing off Sami Zayn. God, he must have did pop-up power bombs. He must have did it to Sami Zayn throughout the course of the match, at least on 3 occasions. He connected with that, and I think the third time was a charm that really had sealed the deal for him. But post-match, he had insult to injury, beating the crap out of Sami Zayn even more, kicking him out of the ring before having Byron Saxton come in to interview him. And once he found out that the Intercontinental Championship match was next between Miz and Cesaro, he decided to stick around, and he was just continuing to lay into poor Byron Saxton. And you just kind of felt bad for Byron, because at one point, after Kevin Owens rolled out and all that, JBL said something to Byron, and Byron actually snapped right back. He was like, why are you always picking on me? And just the way that he came at him, that is, Byron came at JBL, it was kind of like, damn, is he kind of, if it's not starting to get under his skin. He said that line perfectly. And it's just getting to a point, I mean, honestly, if Byron feels the way that he feels, I tweeted the young man, I said, honestly, bite back, stand your ground, don't take no shit from nobody. I mean, you know who Byron reminds me of? Not to really spend too much more time talking about poor Byron, but you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the tenure of Joey Styles as a WWE announcer, and I'm sure you longtime WWE fans remember the stories on how Joey Styles used to get picked on, and it pretty much all has stopped one day when there was an infamous encounter that he had with JBL, and JBL ended up getting a black eye, if I remember that story correctly, and just Joey Styles just finally saying, you know what, I'm standing my ground. It's like, I got a set of balls. I'm going to say what I want to say, you know, and if there's one thing that Vince McMahon really loves and appreciates from a lot of the folks that have had the pleasure of working for Vince's company and getting to interact with him and all that, and they've given their interviews to many podcasts, shoot interviews and all that over the years. Vince McMahon loves a person that has a set of balls, that will tell it how it is, isn't a freaking ass kisser and all of that. You know, he gravitates towards those that has a good fighting spirit, because that's pretty much what he's about and all that. And I tell you what, that one little incident that went down with Joey Styles there, from then on out, Joey Styles was seen in a different light. So I wonder if maybe Byron Saxton has to maybe get to that point in his career. I don't know. But poor Byron. So we go to that Intercontinental Championship match. God, I was so glad that we saw Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens continue to be involved, as basically they were rolled over into this Intercontinental match. Now, as far as the match itself between Miz and Cesaro, it was kind of decent, but I'm going to continue to preach this to the gospel until things change. Cesaro coming out with the James Bond thing, and then he takes off his clothes like he's a fucking Chippendale dancer. That's got to stop. Look, we got Xavier Woods, who has the popular Up, Up, Down, Down YouTube channel and all that. Come on, Xavier Woods and crew. Come on, help this guy Cesaro out. This guy, like, he needs to be given the Hitman video game character gimmick. That's the way that you do it. You make him basically be a mercenary for hire. That's how you do it. Don't have this guy continue to come out wearing these stupid Chippendale stripper clothes and all that. That is just... God, drizzling shits, man. Drizzling shits. That's what it is right there. This was a somewhat decent match. We actually saw Miz get the roll up over Cesaro, courtesy of Cesaro being distracted by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, as Kevin Owens, he thought he was done with Sami Zayn as he was continuing the trash talk at the commentating booth. Sami Zayn came on back out, brought the fight to Owens. The fight went up to the top of the apron, where the referee was a little bit distracted. Cesaro, seeing what was going on, he actually bounced off of the ropes, went into both of those guys, sent them flying off of the apron. Miz coming up from behind, getting the roll-up victory over Cesaro to retain his Intercontinental Championship. One more match to talk about. Hope you guys have been appreciating our WWE Payback post-show, coming at you now this Monday morning of May 2nd, 2016, as it's now midnight over here on the East Coast. If you have been appreciating what we've been doing for you so far, make sure you click on that little heart button and you give the episode a like. You either see a like or a little heart icon. Click on that bad boy. Really appreciate the support. And we want to give you guys a friendly reminder that this edition of the RCWR show is being brought to you in part by Free Stream. Guys, gals, are you ready to wave bye-bye to your cable or satellite provider? Are you tired of paying those ridiculous bills that's coming at you on a monthly basis, knowing you could be doing much better with that money than paying it to your cable satellite bill? You know how it is. I'm just tongue twisted just even thinking about it. Hit up my good friends over at Freestream. Why continue to pay buku's money for your cable satellite when you can get a lot of your favorite channels for just paying a big fat zero with Freestream? Learn more at www.cutyourcable.biz. That's www.cutyourcable.biz. www.cutyourcable.biz. Really appreciate partnering up with these guys, as they are our RCWR show sponsor for the next couple of months. Really great to have them on board. So, quick programming note as far as a new Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show, that's going to be replaced. We're going to be replacing that edition with a special edition of 30 with Lee. You'll be able to catch that live in its place at 10 p.m. Eastern, live on Spreaker.com. If anything monumental happens on Raw this coming Monday to the point that it needs to be talked about, then what'll probably end up happening is after that 30 with Lee airs, we may come on, I don't know, we'll probably come on maybe at 11 and do a new RCWR show for you guys. But I think the vibe I'm feeling right now, it's just right to pull this move. We'll go on ahead this Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, special edition of 30 with Lee. This go round, we're going to be tackling in memory of Prince, Purple Rain from 1984. We'll be tackling the movie and the soundtrack. And then mark it on your calendars as Saturday, May 7th. Saturday, May 7th. You're going to be given another dose of 30 with Lee, as we're going to be talking about Captain America Civil War. You know, honestly, I wonder if we can change that. No, Saturday I think is the best way to do it. I'm going to drop it Saturday afternoon on the 7th for those of you that are thinking about seeing it, you're not quite sure. So, 2 installments of 30 with Lee is how we're going to be doing it this week for you guys. Alright, we got one more match to talk about. Let's go ahead and let's dive right into it. So, our final match of the evening, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, taking on, he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy, Roman Reigns, the WWE champion. And like, who the fuck said that's a gimmick? Who the fuck said that's a catchphrase? Whoever said that's a catchphrase needs to be shot, because that is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's basically like saying, I'm not bi, I'm not gay, I'm not straight, I'm just me. That they need to just seriously change that. I'm just picturing a bunch of like executives in suits just going, well, we've got the Roman Empire, what else could we put out there? And they're just like, well, he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, he's the guy. That's kind of catchy. Let's go with that. I'm just picturing that's exactly how it went with the suits, and that they just kind of changed that seriously. AJ Styles, Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight title. I love this match. My God, I love this match. I wonder if Dixie Carter was watching this match in particular, curled up in a bed, just tears streaming down her face, got the handkerchiefs, eating a box of bonbons. I wonder if she was doing that while she was watching this, just going, why, AJ, why? And just, you just gotta feel for her. You just can't help but feel really bad for her. because of all the people, all the freaking TNA originals that have just like, yeah, nice while it lasted. Yeah, see you later. Thanks for the money, though. I feel bad for poor Dixie. AJ Styles got a really damn good reception from the Chicago crowd at the Allstate Arena. Roman Reigns, not so much. Not so much. Boy, I tell you what, the chance for Roman, it was brutal. You can't wrestle. Roman sucks. Man, that was a rough crowd. But Roman Reigns coming in there, taking it in, having the swagger. Like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you talking. It's whatever. I'm gonna continue to do my thing because I'm the motherfucking man. That's basically how Roman was treating that. AJ had a phenomenal, no pun intended. I thought he had a really great match against Roman Reigns. I love the back and forth. I love the storytelling that was being played out during this match. One point during this match is where, and I'm picking up towards the end here, is where I kind of like scratch my head a little bit, which at one point we see AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, they take the fight out of the ring. Roman Reigns, he pretty much like gets out of it at some point. He's just out of action. And we just see AJ, he is just trying to pick up this big, massive body of a man that Roman Reigns is, try to get him into the ring. And the referee is counting, and he's almost at 10. And like AJ rolls in, and I'm thinking, okay, so he's gonna roll in and immediately roll back out. But he rolls in and stands up. And then the referee calls 10. And I just was kind of like, okay, that for me was just a stupid move. Because how many times have we seen on Monday Night Raw the way that certain matches play out? How many times have we seen a scenario where, oh, this guy can't get his opponent back into the ring? What's he going to do? And he rolls in, stays right there, laid out, still on the canvas, immediately rolls back out, and it restarts the count. So for me to see AJ just roll back in there and then he stands up and then the referee counts to 10, I was just kind of like, okay, that was stupid. And look, kudos to WWE for, and I could tell they had this laid out in advance. You have Shane McMahon come out and he's like, no, this match isn't gonna end like this. We're gonna restart the match, but it's gonna be a no count out match. As y'all know, usually the title cannot exchange hands on a count out. So even though AJ won via count out, Roman was still the champion, but thanks to Shane restarting the match, no count out, it started over. But then the next thing we see is Roman Reigns inadvertently delivers some type of low blow to AJ. AJ wins, but again, you got a DQ, so Roman retains the belt. So you're like, what the hell? Stephanie comes out and she's like, hey, gotta follow up on what my brother had did. As always, I gotta clean up his mess. We're going to start this match over. This time, no disqualification. And I'm just kind of like thinking to myself, have they not been watching the program for the past couple of weeks? Have they not seen what's been going on with frickin' Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows? Like, nobody had the common sense to go, oh, we're going to make this be a no DQ match. However, just to make sure everything is on the up and up, nobody from the locker room can come out and interfere in this matchup. If you do, you will be severely fined and you will be suspended and or fired. You know, I was just looking for something like that and it didn't play out like that. So as soon as they went in the no DQ route, I said, okay, this is going to play out exactly how I predicted it when offering predictions earlier in the week, which was Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, they're going to come out. They're going to try to help even up the odds. Right? And then you're going to be like, oh, here come the Usos. Exactly how I laid it out. Exactly how I laid it out. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. But you know what? It was still great storytelling. It was great seeing Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows come out. And they're like, AJ, come on, man. You got this. Come on, man. You got this. And I'm trying to think what happened. I think Roman might have hit AJ with a Superman punch. He hit him with a Superman punch a couple of times, but there was one of the punches he connected with, and Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson came out. They pulled AJ out because he was dazed and confused anyway. So they saved him from a pin, and then they got in there and they tried to make quick work of Roman. They connected with their finisher and all that. And then they went back out of the ring. They tried to help AJ out, help him come to. AJ, it looked as though from his vantage point, because he was pretty much out of it, doesn't look like he was aware of what was going on. He tries to get back in there. He was able to connect with the phenomenal forearm. Tries to go for the cover, 2 count. Love the great storytelling that they were doing with the false 2 counts and all that. Those were great. Then you see the Usos come out. It played exactly the way I figured it was going to play out. Even up the odds. That way, AJ, Roman, they can just one-on-one. And your match had pretty much ended. I'm trying to think. There was a nice sequence where AJ, I want to say he was trying to look for the forearm again. But I remember Roman doing just a spear out of nowhere. It basically took Roman Reigns, somebody help me out, I think it took Roman Reigns 2 spears to take out AJ Styles. But he was able to retain the WWE title. Of course, before Payback was able to go off the air, we see Vince, Shane, Steph, they're watching the main event match, the conclusion of it, in their office. Vince was quite pleased with what he had saw, but then he puts the question out there, well, what do you think needs to happen with AJ Styles based on what we just saw? Do you feel he deserves a rematch? And Shane and Steph, they're like, without a doubt, he deserves a rematch. Vince is like, okay, great. So when is this rematch going to be taking place? And they're both thinking, why not at Extreme Rules? So, May 22nd, AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, they're going to be doing it again at Extreme Rules. I would think it's going to be a Extreme Rules match for the WWE title. But then, once again, you can't help but go, okay, well, what about Lou Gallows? What about what about Carl Anderson? What about Doc Gallows? What about the Usos? How exactly are you gonna, because they're probably gonna do a little bit of something in that match. Do you maybe ban them from ringside? Do you ban any and everybody from ringside so that AJ and Roman can have this match? But this match played out exactly how I predicted it was going to play out, which is basically you're going to be able to make the argument for AJ that AJ somehow inadvertently got screwed, and that he was going to be in a position where he could make the claim that since he was screwed, that he deserves another shot at the belt. And I'm quite sure coming up on Monday Night Raw, AJ's probably going to see the replay footage of what had happened, and he's going to be like, look, guys, I appreciate you all trying to come to my aid and everything, but honestly, I think I had the match. I think I had it in the books rather. I really didn't need you all's help. Just stay out of my business. Honestly, I think the second go around, what's going to end up happening, I think, honestly, Gallows, Anderson, they're going to turn on AJ. I got them turning on AJ at Extreme Rules. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, maybe it'd be cool if those guys sided with Roman. That's a nice idea, but I don't see that happening. I think what'll actually end up happening is they'll probably side up with Finn Balor. Honestly, and I've been saying this for a while now, I think, honestly, if you're going to do this Balor Club, as far as the members go, I'd like to see Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Finn Balor, Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, Eric Rowan. That would be my new Balor Club. Now, for some of you guys, that's like, well, damn, how you get the Wyatt family in there? You would have had to listen to previous episode of the RCWR show. Longtime listeners know exactly where we went with that one. I think that's the route that you need to go, though. And you have a dominating faction like that, which would basically have Bray Wyatt, AJ Styles, Roman Reigns, people that like cannot see eye to eye. They're like forming these alliances and all that over the Balor Club. I think if they do it just right, I mean, that's your stable right there if they do it just right. But yeah, I'm just really picking up the vibe that Extreme Rules, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, they're going to turn on AJ. I'm quite surprised that it actually didn't play out with tonight, but I guess it's going to stretch out just a little bit longer, which is totally fine. I'm not complaining. It's totally fine. But overall, decent card tonight. Very decent card. Again, as far as my matches, my top picks, just looking at this card one more time, I got to give it up, even though it was a pre-show match. I got to give it up first off to Kalisto, Ryback. Damn good match. I was quite surprised at that one. Second match of the night definitely goes to Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. I enjoyed that quite thoroughly. My third match, I got to give it up to Roman Reigns, AJ Styles. I thought those two guys did phenomenally well. There was one match I missed. I can't believe I almost forgot about this one. This one was somewhat good as well. Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho. I told you guys Dean Ambrose needed to pick up the W for this one because there was just no way that Dean Ambrose could go 3 consecutive months, 3 consecutive pay-per-views losing. That he needed to get a W. And the W he did pick up. I mean, the match itself, a bit average for me. Quite honestly, a bit average for me. And I don't know if maybe that's because Father Time is perhaps catching up to Chris Jericho, or maybe I just kind of have in the back of my head that Jericho's about to take off once again and he's going to do something with Fozzy or whatever. But I don't know. For me, I just really had a hard time getting into this particular matchup. It's hard to believe that at one point these two guys were supposed to lock it up at WrestleMania this past year initially, but when AJ Styles got into the mix, instead it went to AJ Jericho. The streak that Jericho was on when he had his program with AJ Styles, I don't know, it just kind of seemed like the aura, and I don't know if you guys were kind of picking up the same vibe a little bit, but it just really kind of came off like whatever great aura he had in his program with AJ, it didn't translate well going into this program with Dean Ambrose. It really just wasn't there. It just felt like I was watching just a random match on Monday Night Raw. That's just really how it had came off. So I'm hoping I'm not really being that critical with regards to this matchup, because I am a fan of Jericho. I'm definitely a fan of Dean Ambrose, but for me, it just, the expectations that I had for it, I wasn't looking for a hardcore technical match or anything like that. For those of you that might be like, well, what exactly were you looking for? It just didn't quite live up to how I was envisioning it. Now on paper, it sounded good, but didn't quite live up to my expectations, sadly. So, could I give it an honorable mention? Yeah, but my matches of the night, Kalisto, Ryback, Kalisto, Ryback, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles. First honorable mention, I'll give it to Charlotte and Natty. And then in last place, I'd gotta give it to Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho. I wish, honestly, that tag match for the number one contenders, it was off to a damn good start. It sucks that it ended the way that it did, because it was really kind of coming off like it was going to be a classic match. Let's see how... Yeah, Zargon, you said it best as I was getting ready to poke my head in the chat room here and see what some of you guys were getting ready to say. Zargon said it best. Ambrose and Jericho doesn't vibe well. Yeah, that's really what it was. It was they just weren't clicking. You know, it wasn't like how it was with AJ and Jericho. And I don't know if maybe this is one of those type of programs where like Dean needs to work with Jericho for maybe 2 or 3 more months, and then maybe it can kind of pick up that way. I'm not really sure, guys, but just off the break, it just was not vibing that well for me. Just not vibing that well for me. See what else you guys are saying. See what else you guys are saying. I'm just scrolling through the chats here, seeing what you guys are saying. Yes, he did. He went ECW on JBL. Let's see some comments about the whole Netflix approach for WWE. Yeah, they are. I really hope that the and see here's my main gripe about the WWE Network. If they're gonna do these things, if they're gonna implement these new changes, fucking fix the lag issues. Now, I know they're probably hoping that by them doing this, that it stops Aunt Jemima, Aunt Jemima's cousin, Aunt Jemima's grandpa, Aunt Jemima's son, daughter, stepson, stepdaughter, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, fourth cousin removed, and in-laws from all using the same fucking account to go stream the network. But you got to make sure that everything is on point on all cylinders, and the lagging issues. There were a decent amount of people tonight that were complaining about experiencing some type of lagging issues and all that with the network. So, you know, if you're going to do stuff like this, you can't just have it go one way and then not address the other situation that's in the other corner. You got to knock them all out. You just got to. So hopefully they cross all their X's and O's with regards to how they're going to be handling the network going forward. Let's see. Brendan, Survivor Series War Games. There are rumors we are getting a War Games collection on the network soon. Huh. That would be interesting if they kind of went that route. That'd be very interesting. Let's see what else. What else you guys got? I'm going to Twitter now. See if there's anything else on Twitter before I wrap it up for tonight. I think we pretty much made our point, though, guys. Let's see what else we got here. While I'm looking up any more interactions, did you guys also notice the cool picture that New Day had put out where they had their boxes of Booty-O's, and there was a box of Booty-O's that was resting on the booty of JoJo? You gotta check that out. That was a hilarious image to check out. Hilarious. Kudos to JoJo's fiance for being a good sport with that photograph. When I saw that, I couldn't help but go, damn, that's a lot of booty. Oh, I think we'll go on ahead and we'll wrap it up on that note. So once again, with regards to Tuesday night, that's Tuesday night, May 3rd, you guys will not be getting a new RCWR show, but in its place, live at 10 p.m. Eastern, you guys will be getting a new edition of 30 with Lee. And like I said, unless something monumental happens with Raw Monday night, then what will end up happening is we'll come on Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern And it'll be a short show. I'll definitely talk about Raw and all that, but I have a good feeling there's not going to be much to talk about this coming Monday night. So, again, Tuesday night, May 3rd, 10 p.m. Eastern, here live on Spreaker.com. 30 with Lee, we'll be talking 1984's Purple Rain, the movie and the soundtrack. And then don't forget, on Saturday, the 7th, we'll be dropping another edition of 30, as we'll be talking about Civil War, Captain America Civil War. So 2 good solid installments that's going to be coming up. Shout out to Freestream. Make sure you give them a look-see when you guys get the opportunity. And that is going to do it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at the RCWR Show, Facebook, Infinity One Productions. All the information you need is in the synopsis for this very episode. So have at it. If you want this episode on the downloads or on demand, it'll be available first off on Spreaker in about 10 minutes. It'll definitely be at the usual places. Check back wee hours of the night. I don't know, give it about maybe an hour or two. Maybe it'll pop up in iTunes and the usual places. But I appreciate everybody that was interactive in the chat tonight. Shout out to Zargon. Shout out to Brendan. Really going back and forth. Shout out to Paul. Always appreciate Paul whenever he gets a chance to chime in on some of these WWE events. We'll do this again for you guys very, very soon. Until next go round, give me those likes. Really appreciate it. Share this episode all throughout social media. Till next go round, wishing all y'all to be safe. Be kind to one another. Adios.